and welcome back. I always fix it, I apologize. And welcome back to the Star Wars Expanded Universe. Now dubbed by Disney, or Lucasfilm, or whatever, Legends. So today, we have the longest amount of notes that I've taken for any of these yet. What a shocker. We have the Courtship of Princess Leia. I do have a lot of spoilers in here. Though most of it's not too bad. I'm going to read the first page notes before I do spoiler warning. There are spoilers on this page, but it's nothing that you wouldn't really know from reading the back of the cover or anything. And most of the stuff on the first page is before you get into like the big meat of the book, so I feel like it's acceptable. But if you don't want to know anything, you just want to go into this blind, I will say without a shadow of a doubt, this book is fantastic. This book, The Courtship of Princess Leia, is written by Dave Wolverton, and this book is a lot of fun. It's not there are stakes involved, but it's not like the end of the universe or the end of the world or anything. This is a romantic comedy, action adventure sort of tale. And because of course we know Han and Leia are the prime example of like a power couple. Like, you know that they're going to be together because this is Han and Leia we're talking about. Unless we're talking about episode 7 where they were apparently separated. But we're not going to do that. But yes, they're obviously going to end up together. But I will say, for those of you who've not read this before or don't know what this is, if you like the Clone Wars, this is not in the same continuity though, so you can't go watch that and then watch this. But Dave Wolverton came up with the idea of Dathomir, of the witches that you see in the Clone Wars and stuff. I mean, they're kind of different in the Clone Wars, but that all came from this book, from this romantic comedy story with Han and Leia. But overall, this book was such a fun read. It's not in my top 10, but I think this book would definitely be in like a top 20. This book was really, really good. It was really well written, and Dave really understands these characters, I feel. So that's my completely non-spoiler. I'm going to get into semi-spoiler and then tell you to heck off once I get into the remainder of my stuff. But, so my first note was that it's been 5 months since Han's seen Leia. Because remember, we have all the X-Wing books and stuff, so we know that Han was doing stuff, trying to capture Warlord Zinji and all that, the Iron Fist ship. But it's been almost half a year since he's seen Leia. Oh, and I wrote a note that just said, like, the X-Wing books, like, this book, I believe it came out after the Thrawn trilogy, and maybe a couple other books, but the X-Wing series either hadn't started yet, or they didn't get to the ones that were written by, the second guy, Aaron Olston. I'm not exactly sure. But I'm just amazed with how well the X-Wing books fit in with this. My next note is that Luke he's on a planet when we first see him in this book, and he's doing stuff, and he learns about Dathomir. And again, these are just notes that I kind of wrote down while I was reading it. So, if this is your first time watching one of my Legends reviews or anything like that, I kind of give like my overall thoughts on it, and then I jot down notes when I find something interesting or worth talking about. But it's not like a really in-depth analysis or anything. So I kind of write things down and then I talk about it with you, just in case you're new here. Prince, what's his name? How did I fixed it later? Isildur or whatever. Prince Isildur. So the main crux of the book, all right, is that yeah, we have the New Republic, but the Empire still, like, they believe that they'll win eventually, but like it's gonna take a long time because like they still have like a lot of warships and stuff, and there's a lot of warlords and whatnot. So Prince, hold on, I wrote his name right on the back page, and I can't remember. Isildur, I don't know how to say it, but he lives in this society where it's like women are in power, whatever. But they have a huge army, and if they join the Republic, it'd be like a really big deal to have all those ships and all that military assisting the new Republic against the Empire. And he wants to marry Leia, um, because if they marry together, because she's still technically royalty, even though Alderaan's blown up, she is still technically a princess. So that's kind of like the whole dilemma of the book. And of course, this starts to make Han and Leia have problems. But to win Leia's heart, Han gambles, plays some sabacc, and he wins a freaking planet. And what would that planet be, of course? Dathomir. Han wanted to ask Leia to marry him, but now with all this drama going on, it doesn't happen the way it's supposed to be. I wrote Han Solo, a prince, ? We learned some things about Han in this book. Are they true? Read the book to find out. That's all I'll say there. I just wrote a little note. Before I get there. So Han decides to kidnap Leia. If this was real life, that'd be really creepy. But it being Star Wars and it being this book, it's really cute and really endearing. I don't know. It's obviously in real life that'd be like, so this guy like kidnapped the girl to spend time with her, but like in this, I don't know, the characters and stuff, it's just cute. It only works in fiction. Don't do that in real life to win your girlfriend or something. But Chewie and C-3PO don't know about this right off the bat. And so if you read the book, you'll know what I'm talking about. But I just wrote a little note that says Chewie and Leia's relationship is written really well. And I just really appreciate it because, I'm paraphrasing again. But there's a part where he's like super pissed that, Han just like kind of took her without her consent. And he's like, even though he has a life debt to Han, for Leia, he might be willing to break that debt and rip off Han's arms for doing this. Of course he doesn't, but I just like the relationship a lot. And here's the big crux of the rest of the story before I'll say spoilers, and go read the book. So, the big crux is Han asks Leia to spend 7 days with him on Dathomir to make, to spend time with him. And he's like, and if you don't love me and want to marry me after those 7 days, I will leave you alone and I'll go be arrested because he stole Leia. So he would be going to jail. I mean, of course he doesn't go to jail by the end of the book, but that's kind of like the whole thing. So, yeah. And I also wrote that it describes in the book that, what Leia always saw as recklessness, because, she thought about, Han does crazy things all the time and how he would put his life in danger in the movies and stuff for her. And she always thought that he was just reckless. But the truth is, it's just Han's unyielding devotion to Leia. Which is why I say that Han only really loved 2 women ever in his life. And that was Bria and Leia. But, spoilers from now on. Big spoilers, big time, stuff that's later on in the book. If you don't want spoilers, leave. Go read the book, alright? I did the spoiler warning. Spoiler. I'm going to spoil it. If you don't want to be spoiled, then leave. This is your last warning, okay? For those of you who've already read the book and stuff, stick with me. And if you don't care about spoilers, stick with me. Let's get into it. First note. Why a blue lightsaber? In episode 6, he has a green lightsaber. Now, this could be considered a plot hole. However, it can be easily explained as him just dabbling with constructing new lightsabers so he can get used to how making them. Of course, that's a an explanation on my own. Maybe there's a short story that shows him getting a new lightsaber. I don't know if that exists or not. But otherwise, that is a small plot hole, very minor plot hole. But if I'm going to be fair, a lot of people try to defend the sequel movies by giving explanations that the movies don't give. So if I'm going to yell at them for doing that with the sequel movies, I'm not going to do that with here. So what I assumed was that he just made a new one, but they don't really even mention it or discuss it in the book. So you might see that as a plot hole. I don't know, but he has a blue lightsaber now. Oh yeah, the queen, the mother to Isildur, wants to kill Luke. That doesn't end up working out too well for her, though. So we finally get to Dothmere, and we find out about the Rancors living on Dothmere, because there are Rancors on Dothmere, and we find out that the Rancor that we saw in episode 6, that big giant monster, was a baby. It's not the tallest they can get. And they're 10 meters tall. And Night Sisters ride them. It's really cool. Oh. I was confused what my note was for a second. I wrote Luke Toy Storied. So he's flying with Isildur because Han, stole Leia or whatever. So Isildur's with Luke, and they're going to the planet. They get shot out because we find out Zinji's men are there. So Luke's ship gets shot down, and you're like, well, Luke's dead. But no, he does not use the Force to fly, but he kind of like glides down. So he's falling with style, which is why I said Luke Toy Storied. I really love how Dave Wolverton wrote Luke in this book. It really, really feels like Luke in a natural progression of his character. It just feels like this would be him, like 5 years into after episode 6. But, Isildur's a little bit Force sensitive. I don't think he's ever going to become a Jedi or anything, but he is, sort of Force sensitive. And you just see, like, Luke being a mentor, a teacher already. And then a lot later on in the book, the whole gang has met up at this point. Luke and Leia and Han and Isildur and this Dothmere lady who has the hots for Luke for a bit. And then she drops that. But Leia starts to doubt love for Isildur when they were talking about politics and stuff. And she doesn't appreciate like the way that, Isildur talks about things. Oh, I got really sad because I thought Teniel, that's the Dothmere girl I was talking about, I thought she died. Like the way they described it in the chapter, I thought it was like, all right, she's gone. Because I knew she couldn't end up with Luke because, sorry, I knew she could end up with Luke because Mara Jade. But I thought, I wanted her to, just, like have a happy ending, or at the very least, not die. But luckily she didn't die. But I thought she did. And I've already said it, but I have a note that just says, like, this book really understands Luke. And then we get to later on in the book, we have a big giant, like, fight scene that happens with, the Night Sisters and the Dothmere witches, and they're going up against each other, and then we have, Luke helping and stuff. But he eventually gets beat, and this lady's just, like, using the Force on his head, and he feels like his head's gonna, like, pop, just, like, explode, and, he starts to doubt himself. He's like, I thought I was a Jedi Master now, but, man, and he looks back on episode 6 when he was fighting Vader. Vader was holding back, because he wanted Luke to join the dark side. He didn't want to kill Luke. He wasn't using his full capacity. And the same thing with with the Emperor, because the Emperor wanted him to suffer slowly. If he used his full power outright, Luke would be dead. But the only reason Luke wasn't dead is because the Emperor wanted him to suffer, so he wasn't using the full extent of his power. Whereas when Vader finally picked up the Emperor, he was using the full power, the full lightning capability. So he just, like, when he's getting force beaten by this woman, force raped, he's just like, yeah, I'm out of my league. If Vader really went all out, I would have been destroyed. And he's right. But we all know that Luke is going to probably be super awesome himself later on. But he's awesome later on in the book, too. I didn't make a note about it. But, I mean, there's a part where he's, like, fully, like, in tune with the Force, and he's doing stuff with the Falcon, which is really cool. Read the book if you haven't read it. Why are you here? But after that, you know, like, Luke's, like, completely out of it now. So Han intends to kill himself. And he says, you know, Isidore's a good man. You made a good choice, really. And of course we get a callback to Episode 5, the best Star Wars movie. And Leia wants to say, I love you, but she also knows that he's intent on, you know, blowing himself up along with the witches. And she doesn't want to say anything that will hurt him. Or read the book. The whole scene was amazing. But, of course, what does he say? I know you love me. I've always known. The entire scene on the Falcon, when that happened, was expertly done. As I said, Dave Wolverton, after reading this book, it seems to me that he really understands these characters. And it was just a wonderful scene. I don't know what else to say about it. Earlier on, of course, Luke rejects Teniel. He's like, I can't be with you. I don't see a future with us. I'm going to keep training, and I don't have time to date right now. Or do that. But, guess what? Isildur gets romantically involved with Teniel. So now, you can have her, and Han can have Leia. It's perfect. I'm not, again, if you care enough about the story, then you should be reading the book. But there's other stuff that happens. But finally, and this is the best part of the entire book, Warlord Zinji dies. Kiss my Wookiee. Finally. I've hated this guy, not because he's a super good villain, but because he's freaking boring, and he's stupid, and now he's dead. Finally. Dead in this book. I'm so freaking glad. He's dead. Best freaking thing ever. I'm so happy about that. He's gone now. We don't have to worry about him anymore. Unfortunately, we're going to get a really good villain soon called Thrawn. But, we only have one more book, by the way, and then we're in the Thrawn trilogy, guys. But, alright. For those of you who didn't want spoilers, Han isn't royalty. That was, something they brought up in the beginning, and they debunked it real quick at the end. He isn't royalty, so. I really thought he was. I was like, oh, that's cool, but I guess not. So, whatever. And then my only final note. Luke is best man. Hell yeah. Now, at first I was like, shouldn't Chewbacca be best man? But, like, Leia's also the sister to Luke. So, I feel like best friends-wise, Han has Chewbacca, he has Luke, and he has Lando. Luke and Chewbacca being the closer friends, though. Even though he's known, he's known Lando longer than he's known Luke. But I just feel that because of all the stuff they've gone through, that they're just closer than Lando. But I was just really happy for him to be best man. I loved it. But then, yeah, of course, Leia and Han get married. So that's pretty much it for my thoughts of the Courtship of Princess Leia. A phenomenal book. I loved it a lot. It was really, really fun, and I'm excited to continue on with our journey. Up next is Tatooine's Ghost, and after that, the Gospel of Star Wars, the true sequel to Star Wars, the Thrawn trilogy, the true 7, 8, and 9. So I hope you all look forward to that. I hope you guys are enjoying these videos. If you do, thumbs up. Let me know what you thought about this book in the comment section below, if you've already read it. Yeah, thank you all for sticking with me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.